intend to make a long speech. I know I'm the last speaker and you want to get away and do fun things. Just a couple of points I'd like to make. I, in fact, this afternoon or earlier this morning, on radio I heard what the Honourable Chief Justice said to you, and also on the radio was the coverage about your workshop, including the fact that you'll also be now opening at least another 4 to 5 new offices within the legal aid. I call legal aid the largest law firm in Fiji. We have the largest group of lawyers employed under one organization, and therefore all of you are very important people in respect of providing support to the workings of the legal aid. Legal aid, of course, is a very unusual organization from that perspective, because notwithstanding the fact you're the largest law firm, you're also completely funded by government. Well, it may not be exactly true. You receive a certain percentage of funding from the interest that's accumulated from lawyers' trust fund accounts. But the bulk of the funding, as you know, government has made available in this year's budget in excess of $5 million to legal aid. There is also a constitutional requirement that we actually have legal aid in position or in place and running and operational, because you are one of those independent offices that actually needs to provide that fundamental service to ordinary Fijians who otherwise would not be able to afford legal services. It is very, very critical. A lot of people talk about democracy, a lot of people talk about the rule of law, but they only talk about these things from the perspective of people winning government, or being in parliament, or forming government. There's more to that. Rule of law, democracy requires an empowerment of individual citizens of any country. You cannot talk about empowerment just because one can go and vote. That is very important. But what is also important is on a day-to-day basis, when you live your life, are you able to protect the rights that are guaranteed under the Constitution? Are you able to access those rights that are actually set out in the Constitution? There's no point saying that everybody is equal in society when, for example, one person may be able to seek legal redress because he or she is rich, and the other person is not able to access the legal redress because they cannot afford it. So there is inequality. There are many countries in the world that claim to be democratic, but if you go to those countries, it's a highly unequal societies. They may have elections, people may vote, but in fact, on a day-to-day basis, very unequal. So you play that pivotal role in terms of trying to provide that balance in our country amongst the communities in Fiji. It's very, very important for you to be able to understand that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you are the first people that most people come in contact with. They don't necessarily go and speak to the lawyers, but they speak to you. They come and ask for your assistance. So you are the front line of legal aid. How you present yourself, how they are able to convey their particular issue to you is critically important. So you must ensure, please try and understand the logic, the philosophy behind it, is that you are there to provide a service to a group of people who, of course, otherwise will not be able to access that service. Of course, I'm not saying everybody that walks in through the door is 100%, upright and all very good people. There are some con people too, I know, who walk in through the doors. There's some people who do have an angle. But fundamentally, majority of the people who walk in through your doors are people who actually really do have a problem. They really have a problem. Some of them don't understand what is happening around them. Some of them don't understand the language in which the documents they have, or fully understand the documents that they have, the language it's written in. So you need to have that level of empathy. Just try and place yourself in their shoes. I had, just to give you an example, I had somebody the other night, around about midnight, send me some Viber messages. And of course, when you receive these kind of messages all the time, it can be a bit overwhelming. It was midnight, and they sent me a message, and then they proceeded to send me photos And the message was about my son used to be a very healthy boy, was in primary school, and he went through this problem. He went to the doctor and they gave him Panadol and sent him home, or gave him sleeping tablets. And 2 days or 3 days later, he's ended up in hospital and the guy's a vegetable now. They sent me photographs of tubes in him and all of that. So, you try and place yourself in their shoes. It may be annoying that time of the night. I'll look at it tomorrow, whatever the case may be, but imagine what they're going through. And I have a 6-year-old son and a 3-year-old son, a 6-month-old daughter. So I've placed myself in their shoes. Imagine if it happened to one of them. How would I feel? How desperate would I be? In particular, if I don't know what is happening to them. What would I do? Would I be vibing people at midnight? Would I be annoying to somebody? Probably I would be, because I'm desperate. And that's my son or my daughter. In the same way, when people do come to you, sometimes they may be a bit annoying. They may be, rubbing you up the wrong way. Just try and place yourself. If it gets too personal, you can get one of your other fellow staff members to talk to them. But it's very important for you to understand that. And that's the role you do play. And that's the purpose behind legal aid. Most of you may not realize this. When we were appointed to government in 2007, there are only legal aid officers in Lautoka, in Suva, in Lambasa. I think Ba had just opened from memory. But there's no official opening, had not been done. Since then, you are now in every urban center, including every rural center in Fiji, and now going out to the maritime islands. You've grown exponentially. So it's been, some of you, I think majority of you weren't there when all of this existed in 2007. So this is how far legal aid has come. The legal aid office at that time, the clock tower in government buildings, a small room upstairs, that's where legal aid was. Very difficult for people to access. You had to climb all those steps. It was dirty, not very, welcoming. There you have state-of-the-art offices. You put in the investment, the money. A lot of you will have career paths in these organizations. And that brings me to my next point, which is, of course, you've had a review of your employment conditions, of your job evaluation that's been done, and which is a good thing, because we want to be able to ensure, and I'm sure the Commission wants to be able to ensure, we've done it through the civil service. We've had people who receive pay rises up to 80%, people 40, 50%. Some people, of course, have not had as big a pay rise as the 80%, because what they were being paid was actually comparable to what the market was doing. Some of you may be in positions that may actually, require higher salaries. Some of you may not require that much of a salary. But the fact of the matter is you'll be assessed to the market. That's your base. But then going forward, of course, you'll all be individually assessed. How well do you do individually? That is very, very important. As I've said to civil servants before too, that, if this group of 5 people here, or 6 people here, if they get assessed individually, there's this old thought in Fiji that everybody should be given the same pay rise. No, because these first 2 gentlemen may be coming to work at 10 o'clock in the morning, taking 1 hour tea break. I'm not saying they do, but hypothetically. And start combing their hair at 4 o'clock to leave at 4:30. Now, the lady on the other end, she may be working hard, and the colleague next to her may be working very hard. They've all got the same pay rise in the assessment. It's a discouragement for them to do well, go out of the way to do well, and it's an encouragement for them to continue to do what they're doing. Combing their hair at 4 o'clock, leave at 4:30. So, see, this is what the whole idea of assessment does, individual assessment. And some of the ministries and departments in government, we have what we call subordinate review and peer review. And also, of course, those people who actually you report to. So you may be, for example, in charge of 5 people, they could also assess you in terms of how good a manager you are. And then the people above you also assess how good you are to them as far as reporting is concerned. So all of this part and parcel of trying to get the organization to be a lot more robust, get you to have a better work environment. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very important. So The Commission has discussed with the Chairman, I mean, he's briefed me about it, that how the Commission is very keen to make sure that you all have a good work environment where you feel happy and willing to come to work, to be able to fulfill this very important role that you do actually fulfill as part of the constitutional rights of every Fijian. The third but not last point, again I'd like to reiterate something similar to what the Honourable Chief Justice had said. We have elections this year, 2018. As you know, when we have elections, sometimes everything becomes political. You have to be able to step aside from that. You have to be able to ensure that people, when they walk in through the door, you assess people as you would in normal times. Very important. Don't get carried away with it. Now, people go on social media. We have, I think, something like 500,000 Facebook users in Fiji. Everybody's on phones, etc. So don't get influenced by all of that. You have the right to, of course, have your own communications, but you have to ensure that you do not get influenced by that and bring it to your work. You're independent people, working professionals in an organization that is independent. Just only a couple of days ago heard somebody, as you know, there's some issues with some trade unions making statements about judiciary, completely unwarranted, making aspersions on people completely unwarranted. So when somebody walks in through the door, they're a potential client of yours, a potential person to whom you're going to provide service. And you must do that professionally, independently, and follow the proper protocols and rules that are laid out in your procedures, in your organization. That's all we're saying. That's all you need to do, and you should do that. That will ultimately mean that you will be the professional. It will ultimately mean that nobody can point a finger at you. Say, oh, this person did this because the client that came to see them was, their relative or of the same ethnic group or same religion, or because they belong to the same political party, whatever the case may be. Don't fall for any of that. Just be professional. And it's very important for you to ensure. If that gives you your own personal, professional integrity, which is always very important. And as a saying goes, you can always look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and look at yourself straight in the eye to say that you've done the right thing. Very important. A lot of people forget that. You must always be able to wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I've done the right thing. An example that I've used so many times, you can tell small lies. I've had so many professional people who, for example, they'll be sitting in the office and they've had a meeting with some people and they don't want to see them, or some people have come to see them, and they'll tell the staff, or tell them I'm not here, or tell them I'm sick or I've gone overseas. And then they walk down the street and the person bumps into them. What level of integrity do you have then? Where's your professionalism? That's really the point. Those very fundamental issues that actually do matter. The example that I used recently, I went to somebody's funeral, and people generally talk. When people talk, they don't say, oh, that guy who died or that person who died had 5 cars and 1 big house or whatever. People generally talk about your character. Oh, that fellow used to tell a lot of lies. Oh, he always used to con people. People will always talk about your character. Oh, he was a very honest person. Good guy. Always used to smile. Whatever the case may be. Just remember that both professionally and individually, it is very important for you to be able to have that level of integrity, both as a professional but also for your own internal self-satisfaction. You can always put your hand on your heart and say, I've done the right thing. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for your participation in this workshop. I'd like to, of course, thank the chair and the commissioners and your director for the work. Please continue to work with them. You play a very pivotal role and a very key role. I'd like to thank you for your work. This organization has grown really exponentially. Probably it's the fastest growing organization in Fiji from a percentage perspective. If you look at where you were only a few years ago and where you are today. So thank you very much for your work, and I wish you a fantastic new year. Naka, thank you.